John Hurd with Manitoba Agriculture joins us again here on Real Agriculture. And John, we've had a lot of rain in parts of Western Canada over the last few weeks. What does this mean in terms of nitrogen availability to the plants and potential losses of nitrogen?
Yep. We see that it's just going to be detrimental based on the extent of rain and how long that water is sitting in the field and whatnot. Some of our crops have moved through and use a good portion of their nitrogen yet, but we've got others. For example, we're in some corn here that at this point it's only used a third to a quarter of the nitrogen that it's going to need.
So it depends also on the crop and when they, of course, have the majority of their uptake of N.
Right. And we've had rain probably causing both measures of losses. In this area, some people would say 5 inches of rain was a modest amount in June. But sometimes that's enough that on lighter soils we see the nitrogen leached below the rooting zone of the seedling and crops. We've heard of some sulfur deficiencies, which often reflect leaching of nutrients deeper in the soil. But right now you can pan over here to where we've got standing water, and when we have standing water, our major loss is denitrification, and we're concerned about that in Manitoba because we've got some soils, the heavier clay soils, are easily saturated, and when that happens, we could experience high losses of nitrate nitrogen.
It's been a few years since I've been in a classroom, or maybe people watching this, it's been a while since we've seen that cycle. Denitrification is just one
imagine that. I have it right in my back pocket. Yes. But as should all crop advisors and agronomists and ag retailers, this has kind of become compulsory to have in your back pocket now, because now that there are some improved products that can actually help us combat some of these losses, it's very important to know where to target those with specific farmers, their equipment and their timing, and then where they should be employing some of those specialty fertilizers. But the real culprit with losses is once nitrogen is in the nitrate form, and mentioned the leaching is what occurs on our sandy or soils where that nitrogen can move below the root zone. But really of great interest is the denitrification. And when soils are saturated, when it's warm right now, within 24 hours the microbes will consume oxygen in the soil, and then they'll start to denitrify nitrate. Our made in Manitoba thumb rule is that in the spring, when the soils are cool, that we can lose 2 to 4 pounds of nitrogen per acre per day. But now that things are 20 degrees soil temperatures, we'll lose threefold that. Maybe we're losing 8 to 16 pounds per day. And I think many of the states use similar values. So standing water on fields right now, not only is it impairing plants, like we see yellow crops, that's oxygen deficiency in addition to nitrogen. And a particular concern here is the nitrous oxide loss, which is a powerful greenhouse gas. And it's interesting at the school here where we're talking about that, and with the specialty products, the inhibitors and controlled release products or others, sometimes we show agronomic advantages, particularly in years when there are losses. But up there on the hill where they're talking about the environmental losses, frequently we show environmental advantages. Many of these products are actually quite effective at minimizing or reducing the nitrous oxide losses. And so it's interesting when the environmental benefits are apparent before some of the agronomic benefits.
This would be a year, though, where you would expect to see value for inhibitors?
Yes. We started out very dry here. We went 34 days without rain until late May, and then we've had more than normal rainfall. So particularly for those plants that are late season, that weren't using much water early, like corn or others, they're ones where we would expect that if nitrogen had moved to the nitrate form, it's vulnerable to some of these losses. Again, for those that are crop advisors or ag retailers, and if they know what the farmer's soil is like and what their potential losses and their timing, then they may be able to, with some of the improved products, be able to target those activities at the red circles, which are the losses.
Risk, of course, wouldn't be exactly the same throughout a field. Do you see a day sometime when we alternate or have variable sources, perhaps using urea?
Yeah, that's my wish list. I hope the government can afford to keep me on the payroll. Or well, I hope they don't pension me off before we see farmers applying, in low-risk areas of the field, low-risk areas of losses, like maybe well-drained areas. There may be urea or anhydrous ammonia is quite suitable. But as they move to maybe lower landscapes or sandy ridges or things, then products that tend to stabilize nitrogen more in the ammonium form or control the release may have a particular advantage in those high-risk areas.
All right. Nothing like that happening at this point, though?
Not that I'm aware of. Actually, I expect that there are some farmers probably dabbling at this. And some of the precision ag agronomists may be doing a bit of this, but not widely yet.
Okay. It's more of an intuitive thing too, not necessarily that there's science or research showing.
Yes, but if I'm looking for a greater likelihood of payback on some of these more expensive products, I would be putting it into that wet environment or to that environment where it's coarse sand where nitrogen may leach. Just intuitively, that would be targets where my higher priced products would pay for themselves.
All right. Thanks for your time again, John.
Very good.